Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message is simple, but it might change everything you believe about wanting more. What if you never had to impress another soul, to be held in love's arms? What if the rushing, chasing, and endless striving was never the real way home? What if the alchemy of rest was the gateway to a richer world? Here in this softly lit sanctuary, performance melts into presence. Here you are not asked to work for approval or hustle for a place at the table. Each word is offered to calm your breath, to loosen the clutch of old stories that whisper worth is something you must win. This isn't a lesson, it's a recoding. Every sentence is designed to help your nervous system feel safe, while your soul starts to remember its worth. Little by little, you are invited to lay down the armor of proving, the vigilant measuring of value through deeds. This is where achievement can finally exhale. This is the pause that lets your spirit drift, unfixed by the logic of earning, permission, or perfection. If you've ever undercharged, overworked, or felt guilty for dreaming bigger, this entire episode is for you. It is for the ones who ache for abundance, but feel its arrival always just beyond the border of effort. It's for the souls who make lists at midnight, whose hearts don't rest until every box is checked and every lamp has been turned off with care. And for the ones whose worth feels negotiated in boardrooms, bedrooms, bank statements, and silent prayers. This space is for you, just as you are, before you do another thing. So stay with me. Even if you drift off, the truth will still reach you. In the gentle, silent part of your mind that knows it's safe to stop performing, truth is already rocking you to sleep. The invitation isn't to fix or do, but simply to receive an unhurried recognition that your beingness is welcome here. You don't have to listen closely, just let it surround you. It is enough to breathe. It is enough to soften. Here you are not an equation to be solved, but a miracle already funded by the cosmos before a single task is done. Let that knowing be your permission tonight to rest, to belong, to be enough, without lifting a finger. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message is simple, but it might change everything you believe about earning love, security, or abundance. What if all the rushing to prove yourself was never your true nature at all? What if the striving was never the key to belonging? What if your worth had nothing to do with what you did, but was always there, silent, safe, sacred? In this episode, there aren't lessons or lists. There is only a gentle invitation, a soft recoding inside. Every sentence is made so your breath loosens and your heart remembers its wholeness long after effort falls away. If pieces of you have ever been trained to overdeliver, to measure your value by productivity, if you've ever found love just out of reach, unless you worked to exhaustion or pushed through invisible finish lines, you're not alone. This is why these words are for you. So will you stay with me even if you drift off, even if your mind wanders? It's enough that you're here. The rest will find you in softness. You don't need to listen perfectly. Just let these words settle around your edges like dusk. That's more than enough. There is a place, somewhere deep within, that has never set its worth by what it could produce, a tender, luminous field beyond striving. You might not notice it at first, not after all the years of vaulting over your own exhaustion. Checking for permission in every mirror, every paycheck, every withheld sigh. Most of us have learned to become architects of approval, building towers of effort, always higher, haunted by the silent question in the foundation. Am I enough now? We hurry, we hustle. We tighten around to-do lists, bracing for the next moment of proving, even as our bodies whisper for a pause. Some of us have counted minutes instead of memories, stacking hours like currency, believing if we just invest enough labor, we'll finally be allowed to rest in who we are. Pause here. Let your jaw release a little. Let the air enter as if it's not owed but gifted. Before the world instructed you on the price of being lovable, before any gold star or closed deal or silent night of worry, your beingness simply existed. A body breathing, a soul unwinding. Unwritten, unmeasured, unperformed, the trees do not rush to blossom just to prove spring is coming. The river does not surge to convince the banks of its right to flow. The moon does not shine brighter because the sun once doubted its glow. How many ways have we learned to trade presence for proof? Maybe it was applause or a nod of approval. Maybe it was the careful tallying of every favor, every missed invitation answered with a little more effort tomorrow. Let your shoulders remember a time before all that, even if it's just for this breath. Sometimes the world taught us that building wealth meant always building ourselves. That love was a wage paid only when we'd performed the right contortion, said the right thing, denied our softest need just long enough to earn belonging, breathe out the old contracts. If every accomplishment could be set gently on the floor, without fear of losing yourself in the silence, if you untethered each thread of love from duty, each dollar from identity, who would you discover in that space? This is not a question for the mind to solve. Let the answer settle like dust on the windowsill, undisturbed. There is a gentler way, a way of receiving that does not demand performance, but welcomes existence. A way of making, dreaming, and creating, not to buy access to joy, but to radiate more of it, because your cup was always made to be filled. Let your breath lengthen. What if abundance came most easily to the parts of you not trying to earn it? The wild forest never hurries to grow, the fields do not rest seasons into harvest. They yield, they trust the warmth below, the rain above, the gentle mathematics of enoughness. Let your hands recall how to rest, not collapse, not resignation, but the deep permission to be cared for without cost. Inhale, exhale, notice the difference. The old way was performance, output for love, effort for belonging, outcome tied so closely to worth that even joy wore old, frayed shoes. Many of us spent a lifetime paying invisible tolls at the border between who we are and who we thought we had to become. Soften. Invite your chest to open, even slightly, as if meeting an old friend in the quiet. Who might you become, if wealth no longer depended on your ability to exhaust yourself? Who might you be if every relationship, every invitation into love or money or meaning started with the assumption, you are already welcome? Feel that, even if it feels unfamiliar, with each breath. Imagine the chords of performance unspooling from your heart. One by one, each expectation unwinds, not with violence but gentle patience, a soft unraveling. Notice the subtle ease in the belly, the warmth of being witnessed by a universe not keeping score. Time softens here. Money loses its threat. The old rehearsal of worth pauses between acts and the theater becomes silent, luminous, boundless. Every place inside that still doubts, let it rest against the certainty that presence alone is power. Just as the forest trusts its soil, just as rain trusts its cloud, just as the night trusts the returning sun, you do not need to prove your way to permission. You do not need to bargain for belonging. The most sacred abundance arrives when there is space to receive, not performing, not pleasing, not pushing, just being. Let the nervous system taste that possibility. Let your breath mirror the easy rhythm of a world that does not rush. If there's tension, notice it as a memory, not a mandate. If old stories of proving still echo, honor their purpose, but let them drift as leaves floating on a quiet pond. If you wish, you may place a hand on your heart, a signal not to achieve, but to listen. Feel the beat, unhurried as roots embracing earth. In the honesty of your inhale, in the clarity of your exhale, you remember. Every gift you seek flows more freely to those who are already home in themselves. Ease is not earned. Belonging is not transactional. Abundance is the natural result of coming back to the truth that your being is enough. And just as the stars do not audition to shine, just as sleep arrives without striving, your worth can rest tonight, untethered from performance. Let this remembrance carry you deeper. Let the silence be the invitation. You are safe even when not producing. You are cherished even when the world grows quiet. You are free even before you accomplish one more thing. There is a quiet place within you, a hidden shore where the world's demands dissolve, and something ancient remembers how to rest. Why does it so often feel like every breath must be earned, as though we must barter effort for oxygen, or prove our worth to the very force that dreamed us into being? Most of us were taught that receiving comes with a toll to be paid, a tally to be weighed, invisible debts signed by sweat, apology, or endless ambition, a moment to soften. Let your jaw unclench, let the brow grow smooth. The truth flickers softly here. The stream of abundance has never depended on your striving. It flows far beneath effort, deeper than deserving, silent as starlight drifting. Imagine, for a moment, a river that does not rush because it is chased but moves because it is drawn by the gravity of its source. So many have been told to hustle, to grasp, to prove enoughness, as if safety sits just beyond the next completion or the next gold star. But the heart grows tired living on performances. Another breath moves through you, and you begin to wonder, what if there is a current underneath everything you do, carrying more than you could push, ferrying you further than you could ever force? Some chase wind, some build sails, some collapse into stillness and let the divine wind do all the lifting. Money, love, belonging, how often have these felt like distant shores, or prizes to be earned through tension? Yet what if they were already here, surrounding you like invisible air, unnoticed because you have been holding your breath? Release. Jaw softer, eyes heavier now in this quietness, the truth becomes simple. Provision is not a transaction. Value is not a receipt. Your worth was seeded before your first action, echoing as sacred permission from the moment you arrived. Think of the great currents in the ocean, silent, unseen, carrying entire worlds in their gentle swirling. Fish do not force the water to hold them. Birds do not bargain with air. Each is upheld, already included in the choreography of plenty for years. You may have reached for assurance in output, stacked small victories into ramps meant to raise you just high enough to receive. But each time you claim evidence of lack, your nervous system braces, clutching for what cannot be possessed through pressure. Let it go just a little. Imagine every muscle unwinding into the knowledge that you are already funded, not paid for by yesterday's hustle or tomorrow's perfection, but simply by the mystery that wanted you here. There has always been a wind at your back. Sometimes it felt like a whisper in the leaves, other times, a gentle tide moving you in sleep. Compare. The thrashing paddler fighting the current with every limb, always believing safety is on the next shore, and the floating body, limbs open, cradled by something more patient than force. Drop in, notice the difference, feel the relief in not having to be the engine all the time. What if you could be carried just this once? What if always provision was already riding the invisible winds toward you? Another long breath settles in the belly. Abundance is not awarded to the loudest or the busiest. It is remembered by the still, the soft, the willing. Picture a sail opening to wind, not chasing, not tugging, but receiving. That is all you must ever do. Remember the orientation, tilt the mind to catch what has always been streaming. And so the metaphor widens. Imagine yourself now, a vessel atop a calm yet mighty current. When frantic, you row in circles, growing weary and declaring the sea unfriendly. But when you release the oars and listen, the current's pull becomes obvious. In money, how quickly do you grasp, guard, or strategize, always believing there is no support unless you manufacture it? In love, how often do you perform, please, or pivot yourself just to be chosen? In safety, have you measured your readiness by how much you could control? Steady now, each way, there is another current beneath the chaos. Even as you tense, there is always an undercurrent inviting you to rest back, to let provision find you, to let love announce itself, to let safety arrive with no chore attached. You were never designed to pull reality into being with your sheer will. You were meant to sync with what already was, to align, adjust, and be lifted, over and over again. Let breath return to your deepest body. Inhale the idea that there is space for you, even with nothing left to prove. Tonight, the invitation is simply to enter the slipstream, to uncurl the clenched fist and let the cosmic breeze meet your open palm. Over time, the nervous system will try to return to old bargains. If I do, then I get. If I earn, then I'm safe. Let those contracts crumble. Let them dissolve. What rises in their absence is so much softer, yet so much stronger. You already come with a signature of belonging. A value was written beneath your skin, provisions suspended above your head, a treasury older than any labor and richer than anything you could hustle for. Rest a while in this knowing. Imagine every cell relaxing, settling, feeling the slow shift of being held and carried rather than driven or pushed. You are not here to wrestle wind. You are not here to forge rivers. You are here to remember and to let the divine tide lift you, always effortlessly, quietly, abundantly. And so you drift, and so you receive, and so the wind carries you home. There is a quiet revolution waiting in the body, a whisper that does not ask for effort or proof. Beneath the stories that you must always do, always give, always earn, there is another possibility, soft and ancient. Safety can live in the same room as success. Most have learned a different song, a fast, relentless rhythm. The hum of hustle, the ache of needing permission, the fear that rests on the edge of stillness. Many feel safe only when moving, measuring worth by what gets accomplished, what gets built, what gets checked off a list. The body constricts, breath shortens, the heart pounds a little harder. The currency of effort traded for glimpses of love or arrival. But imagine, just for now, what it would feel like to let your body know you are already allowed. Inhale a slowness, not to prepare, not to brace, but to touch the soft edges of being. Exhale the need to hold it all together. Inhale safety, exhale trying. A worthy nervous system is not frantic. It does not keep watch at the gates of abundance, searching for evidence that it belongs. Instead, let the breath remind your chest. Even in pause, wealth does not fade. Even in rest, love does not vanish. Imagine breathing that in, as if it were the very air, weightless, scentless, yet nourishing. Most have learned to tie every ounce of safety to how much got done, and to clutch at the day's last bit of progress, as if each moment of softness cost tomorrow's security. The body, holding old contracts of striving, the shoulders bracing for a standard that always flickers just out of reach. The jaw set as if the world is something to bite down on. Pause with me. What if for this one night permission was already granted? Inhale enoughness. Exhale the past day's pressure. Repeat again until something in the bones remembers ease. Safety and success, for so many, have been kept apart, like trying to sail on two rivers going opposite ways, or keep fountains flowing in rooms you never enter, or building houses out of breath held just a little too long. But here you are invited to let them mingle. Let safety and wealth dance in the same breath, in the same belly, in the same slow hour. The nervous system maps its sense of home by pattern, by memory, by the softest cues beneath words. Sometimes all it takes is a gentle awareness, a hand resting over the heart, an unhurried inhale where the ribs expand only as much as they wish. Inhale deep, hold. Exhale slow, like the world itself is waiting for you to soften first. If worth had a sound, it might be a silence that reassures. If belonging had a shape, it might be the gentle curve of your own shoulder blades, unshielded. If trust had a taste, perhaps it is cool water, sipped in the quiet after striving. Let each breath be an invitation. Inhale permission, exhale performance, see where the body carries the need to brace. It's in the muscles of your neck, in the tilt of your pelvis, in the arch of a foot. Each is an echo of some long-ago moment that whispered, do more, prove harder, earn love with the currency of exhaustion. And yet here tonight you are already held. Already enough, inhale the feeling of being chosen before accomplishing a thing. Exhale all the hours spent bargaining with your own heart. Rest in the soft rebellion of taking up space, unmeasured, unjudged, unhurried. Let the world slow in layers. The drive to achieve can become a gentle settling, like snow falling in a field left wild. Money becomes energy, not evidence. It moves toward those who are safe to receive, not just busy to earn. Love gathers in quiet corners, looking for stillness within which to recognize itself. Time itself unwinds when the nervous system knows it is wanted, just as it is. Inhale receptivity, exhale old patterns. If you notice thoughts circling about bills left unpaid or projects undone, or relationships you wish felt safer, let each thought be a feather, not a stone. Let the breath gather them, hold, and release. Inhale forgiveness, exhale fear, inhale a spaciousness new to your bones. Tonight is not a test of letting go, but a welcoming of what already belongs to you. There is nothing to prove. When you rest in worth, you become magnetic. The body draws what it truly honors. The world responds not to pressure, but to the presence of a being grounded in their own sufficiency. Inhale softness, exhale urgency. Feel how the ground holds all of you, not just the productive parts, not just the polished, but the whole current of your existence. Safety comes home to ask nothing of you. Worthiness does not need your effort, only your return. Let the nervous system learn, cell by cell, that to be you is already a reason to receive, that every breath is a beginning. That wealth, when built on safety, blooms slow and sure, roots going deeper than striving can ever reach. Rest here. Inhale trust, exhale the old model. Let this become a new home, lived in breath by breath. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message is gentle, but it has the power to quiet that restless urge to catch up, to push, to race the invisible clock. There is something here you may have never been told, The soul cannot run late for itself. What if every pause was proof you're being cared for? What if the milestones you imagined arriving at tomorrow unfold exactly when your energy is ready to receive them? What if time itself bends in devotion to your deepest becoming? This isn't a lesson. It's a low tide for your nervous system, a softly structured space where your mind can loosen its grip. Every sentence is here to gently separate your sense of worth from hurry and return you to the wisdom that you are already enough, even when standing still. If you've ever measured your value against deadlines, felt the ache of being late, or worked restlessly for permission to belong, every moment of this journey is for you. Stay here even as your awareness flickers. Let these words ease beneath your surface. You don't have to listen carefully. Just let yourself be held. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message is simple, but it might change everything you believe about becoming enough to receive. What if effort was never an audition, but simply energy in motion, belonging to you as naturally as breath? What if love can find you in any chapter, not just the polished ones that sparkle? What if the moon's beauty wasn't lessened by a shadow crossing her cheek? Here, there's no measuring, no scale, no secret competition. This isn't a lesson, it's a recoding. Every sentence is offered to your nervous system, permission to soften, to allow your soul to settle deeper, to unwind centuries of reaching. With every word, you are being invited to remember that worth was never earned or lost. It simply was. If you've ever felt the exhaustion of striving, the dull ache that whispers you must keep improving just to belong, this entire episode holds you. If your calendar fills with tasks yet your chest feels hollow, if rest makes you restless, and if you sense that joy slips just out of reach whenever you stop moving, let this be your invitation back to center, to the natural rhythm beneath all proving. Stay with me even if your mind wants to wander, even if your body sighs and sleep reaches for you first. The truth still finds its way, even through closed eyes. You don't have to listen perfectly. There's nothing for you to fix right now. Just let the sound carry you. There's a gentle unraveling that happens in the dark, a quiet undoing of the knots tied by daylight. For years, the world may have applauded your hustle, rewarded your self-control, and disguised nervous tension as ambition. But the night asks a different question. Who are you beneath the busy? When nothing is checked off and everything is possible, who remains? Imagine for a moment the softness of the moon. She is celebrated in her fullness, but never shamed in her sliver. Even as she wanes, no one doubts her wholeness. Her fullness is memory, her newness is promise. She waxes, she wanes, she disappears, and not for a second does she audition for the sky. What is it like to be loved, not only for your fullness, but for every phase, uncertain, incomplete, still becoming? What if abundance could find you, even as you rest, even as you wander, even as you wonder if you're enough? So much of modern wealth is performance. The world trains us to tie our deserving to outcomes, to sacrifice softness for certainty, to hold our breath until the next achievement lets it out. But tonight, we unhook the strings. We let the body soften, shoulders drop, jaw loosen. We learn to receive not because we finally finished the race, but because the finish line was never the door. Breathe and let yourself feel how many times you've clutched at self-improvement, believing the next upgrade, the next healed part, the next completed project will finally buy peace at the soul's counter. Notice how the mind sprints, mapping future milestones, packing bags for journeys it hasn't yet begun, all that velocity, while the heart whispers, "Come back, It's safe now to just be here. If performance was the ticket, why does receiving still feel distant? Why is rest uneasy? Why does celebration slip through the fingers? Could it be that the currency of the soul is presence, not perfection, receptivity, not resolve? The moon receives the sun's light and never questions how much is too much. She does not angle herself for more radiance, nor shrink to earn her shadow. She is enough in eclipse, in crescent, in storm, and in stillness. What if you, listening now, could remember that your story is lunar, that sometimes your shine is subtle, sometimes hidden, and always enough? Here, we are not casting out ambition, but inviting it to rest in a softer bed. Desire is welcomed, but no longer mistaken for proof. Goals untangle from guilt. You are invited to be witnessed in your becoming, not as a test, not as a tally, but as a miracle unfolding, one breath, one phase at a time. If you've spent years rehearsing for affection, or believing belonging is the prize for polished performance, let this be the night where something different begins. Here, every striving part in you is safe to sleep. Every quest to fix, to close the gap, to finally perfect what was never broken can fall silent. You don't have to grip so tightly. No one is timing you here. No unfinished place needs tidying before comfort arrives. And as you settle in the cradle of this sound, let your body know it's okay to be in a waxing phase, still growing, not yet complete. Love is never lost in transition. The angle of becoming only reveals new sides of your light. So tonight, surrender the scoreboard. Let your pulse slow. Even if you drift between waking and sleep, let the abundance that is not earned seep in through the cracks, gentle as moonbeam on skin. You are already whole. Every phase is beloved here. Rest easy. Let the truth surround you. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message is simple, but it might change everything you believe about what it means to be worthy, to welcome in more, to let your heart rest in enoughness. What if letting go didn't make abundance disappear, but opened your hands to a rain that's already falling? What if softening your effort didn't weaken your dream, but unlocked the petals of the life that's already blooming for you? What if the richest forms of receiving didn't need proof or performance, but simply space? Here, you won't find a lesson to learn or a standard to reach. Every sentence is crafted as a gentle balm for your nervous system, an invitation to rest while the quiet truth of your worth weaves itself deeper inside. If you've ever felt that your success was something to chase, or thought that joy must be purchased with exhaustion, if you've ever believed you were only as safe as you are productive, then the next hour is spun just for you. You're invited to linger in this sanctuary, even if your mind drifts or you fall asleep. What's meant for you will still find its way. You don't have to catch every word, just let this softness surround you. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message is simple, but it might change everything you believe about wanting more. What if effort was never the gatekeeper to love, but simply the costume you wore to feel safe in the world? What if the permission you seek already lives under your skin, waiting to be remembered? What if worthiness isn't proved, but quietly inherited, whispered through your bloodline and into your breath? This isn't a lesson, it's a recoding. Every sentence is designed to help your nervous system feel safe, while your soul starts to remember its worth. If you've ever undercharged, overworked, or felt guilty for dreaming bigger, this entire episode is for you. So stay with me. Even if you drift off, the truth will still reach you. You don't have to listen closely. Just let it surround you. Somewhere in the hush between waking and sleep, there is a memory older than striving, older than the first time you wondered whether you'd done enough to keep love close. There is a place inside you that has never needed proof, or improvement, or performance, a place that remembers, without words, that you were designed by warmth and belonging long before you learned to hustle for worthiness. Sometimes a spirit learns to sprint, collecting gold stars, perfect marks, and heavy hours, hoping each small victory might weave a tapestry that finally says, "You are chosen." Sometimes whole hearts wake up in the middle of the night, rehearsing the day's achievements, fearing that quiet is empty and effort is insurance. Yet what if this night you could step out of that rotation, just for now? What if you could float untethered, not by what you have done, but by what has always been true underneath? Most of us were taught to earn affection, conditional, calibrated, given out in rations, clean rooms, high scores, polite words. We learned safety was a prize, awarded for obedience, connection as a checkmark, affection as a deposit. So the nervous system holds its breath, waiting to see if approval will arrive with each new accomplishment. Many have worked themselves numb, believing that presence and praise must be collected like coins, counted, recounted. Soften your body now. Sense the ache in your chest, the quiet gripping in your belly. Recognize it as an old alert. Am I loved enough if I do less? Am I safe if I set my work down? Inhale and let your mind drift. In the stories whispered by prophets and mystics, there are words gentle enough to reach the roots. Before I shaped you from dust, before the clocks, before the checklists, you were known. Before you produced a single thing, before you voiced your first need, before you looked for permission in anyone's eyes, you belonged. Not later. Not if you met the mark. Not once you finished growing. Let that truth ripple in the undercurrent of your thoughts. Rest in the space where no score is kept. See how the earth keeps turning whether you try or you pause. Listen. The ocean is not straining to gather waves. The trees are not pushing to earn their sunlight. Moonlight never pleads to be seen. Take a breath. Could it be that abundance, the kind that soothes and surrounds, does not come to the best performer, but to the one who dares to ungrip? Let yourself imagine how love would feel if it did not rush to measure your output, if it never compared or threatened to leave, a love that simply is, uninterrupted, not dispensed in proportions. Notice where your stomach loosens at the image. So many have tied wealth to their willingness to hustle, as if money comes when you are exhausted enough, as though rest is a risk, as if ease is something shameful rather than sacred. The models of striving spin on. Work for the bonus, chase for the raise, budget every sigh, keep momentum even as your body begs for softness. But none of that truly roots provision. Not really. Pause now. Notice how your breath creates space between worry and worth. With every exhale, the idea expands. A safe reality where you, just as you are already enough, worthy of being provided for, independent of performance. No curriculum, no quotas, no equations to solve. Picture letting go of the metaphorical ledgers you've kept, marking moments, tallying all the ways you hope to earn or keep being wanted. See them dissolve like ink in water, every line, every tally, every self-audit, fading into soft, clear calm. Let your mind circle around the image of a beloved child, gathered before words or worries, simply cradled, simply seen, simply known. There was never a question of deserving. Imagine that tenderness extended backward to before your first task, before your first mistake, before your first question about being chosen or adequate or special. Just breathe. Drift through time, before achievement, before striving, before trade. Notice how abundance, affection, and belonging do not tighten or fade when effort ceases. They continue flowing, silent as breath, gentle as dusk, patient as mountains. Notice how your shoulders respond, easier, looser, a little lighter. Not every system taught this. Some parents only praised what they could measure. Some teachers only noticed when results arrived. Some systems tallied, tested, waited to reward. But tonight you are held in a logic softer than any ledger. There is no gate here, no waiting room, no need to prove. Sense your heartbeat. It never asks if you deserve its rhythm. The air fills your lungs whether or not you've solved anything. The soft darkness enfolds your body, quiet and complete, even as you rest empty-handed. The real approval arrived before you did. Now feel the invitation, silent but steady, to receive without effort, receiving love, receiving rest, receiving support without a list of achievements, without a summary of attempts, without a justification or a because. Before timelines, before triumphs, there was a whisper. I know you, and that knowing is the foundation under every wave of belonging, every arrival of prosperity, every soft place you ever landed unexpectedly. You cannot lose what was always yours. Even now, breathe in this new model. Let your mind trace every place you chased, every moment you monitored your worth on a scale that keeps shifting. Let each memory be softened in a field of gentle recognition. That even when you tried so hard, none of it was necessary to be loved. The love was not proportioned to your effort. The love was the constant, the safety, the unchangeable ground. Imagine, just for now, that every effort to prove your place can rest. The drive to earn, the pull to outperform, the caution to do it right. Place all these on a quiet shore, knowing the tide will take them out, returning only what serves real peace. Trust that joy waits in the pause, and abundance arrives on a current deeper than effort. The proof of love is in your being, not in your doing. Allow the soft truth to echo. Nothing you do tonight is required to be cherished, provided for, or held. And for these next few breaths, see if your spirit can practice not working for approval. Let the silence answer you. Let the promise fill your subconscious, wordless, sacred, and real. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message is simple, but it might change everything you believe about wanting more. What if the pressure to achieve had nothing to do with your true worth? What if rest invited in more abundance than any hours spent striving? What if the riches that wait for you already trusted your enoughness before you ever tried? Here, there is nothing you must earn, nothing you have to do or prove. This isn't a lesson. It's a recoding. Every sentence is designed to help your nervous system feel safe, while your soul starts to remember its worth. If you've ever felt guilty for wanting ease, or found yourself giving just a little too much, hoping it buys love or space or peace, if your heart races with the old story that your value must be created, performed, multiplied, validated, this entire episode is for you. Stay. Even as you drift, somewhere beneath the surface, a softer wisdom is waking up in this hour. Your only job is to surrender, to let my words do the gentle work. Let them rearrange the furniture of old beliefs while you rest beneath the surface. There's nowhere to get, no performance, no ladder. Not even a single box left to check. The world outside can pause its keeping score. Maybe you've been told that gold is in the winning. Awards, promotions. More zeros, receipts for your enoughness. Maybe you learned to love applause for how much you could carry, how little you asked, how much you gave away before taking something for yourself tonight. That entire scorecard can go quiet. You are not here to hustle for permission. This hour is just space to listen into who you are beneath all striving. And to remember what has never needed to be proved or improved. I invite you, no matter how alert or how soft and sleepy you feel, to just let yourself receive. Let the stories surface if they must. Let the old heartbeat of urgency tap at your door, but do not answer. Let the deeper truth move in, breath by breath. This space is medicine for the ones who learn to measure love in productivity, to those who were praised for sacrifice, to those who clung to motion for safety, mistaking exhaustion for evidence that they are irreplaceable. Here, nothing is asked of you. Not a single offering is required. The only invitation is to release. Release the tally of what you did today, or didn't do. Release the question of whether you will ever be enough to earn ease, to rest, to attract the plenty you feel called toward for a moment. Let the words sweep over you, like hands smoothing out the wrinkled edges of your spirit. Between each word, a door opens. A soft permission to exist without condition. If it helps, picture every expectation, every item you didn't deliver, every dream you think you're behind on, melting like sugar into warm tea. No longer sharp, only sweet and gone. All that is left is simple truth. What is most sacred within you cannot be earned or undone. So, for this hour, I ask nothing of you but this: allow yourself to be the listener, not the achiever, not the fixer, not even the one who must heal it all tonight. Let yourself be held, in gentle words and golden silence. You don't have to listen closely. Just let it surround you, let it hum to your soul as you drift, and trust that there is nothing left to prove. Only the soft remembrance that you have always been enough. There is a quiet truth here, a door where the old world of deserving ends and something deeper begins. Rest is not where momentum stops. It's where meaning is planted, like the hushed pause before the first green shoot splits the dark earth. Most have believed that to be worthy is to always be in motion, to tie value to the sweat on the brow. The ache of completion, the unspoken contract that says enough only comes after you've given everything. When the pulse of the world insists on striving, pausing feels like standing in an empty field, waiting for permission to bloom. But the earth never doubts its cycles. The richest soil lies quiet through winter, letting last season's offerings dissolve, deepening in the hush before the next harvest, and fields are never asked to prove their fertility by pushing through every frost. The orchard's roots rest and the rivers slow. There is invisible work that only quiet knows how to do. We are born into these rhythms, yet taught to forget them. Somewhere along the way, the mind learned to equate stillness with scarcity, to fear that what isn't rushed will wash away. There is a stubborn ache, the old belief that softness is weakness and patience is a form of hiding. But if you listen beneath that, under the hum of tasks and tally marks, something wiser pulses. The wealthiest moments are seated in the invisible, the seconds when nothing is demanded and everything is allowed. The field left fallow becomes deep and dark, the hidden vault where new harvest is assured. Let the body soften, let the breath widen across the ribs, as if you could inhale the whole scent of soil as it turns toward spring. Most days, people hurry past rest as if it were a shadow, a corner of the room to avoid. But abundance loves a vessel strong enough to pause. Love, too, pours easiest where there's room to land. The nervous system remembers, even if the conscious mind forgets. Security rooted in effort alone becomes brittle, like brittle branches under too much weight. But trust, real trust, is a rooting, a widening, a knowing that the universe is not counting your steps. The divine does not keep ledgers for love, nor for plenty. What if rest is the real testament to trust? To pause and let the wind rearrange the day, to let softness shape the edges of what comes next. Notice the heart's rhythm as you sink into stillness. Imagine the whole field, dark, unplowed, rich, caught in perfect patience. Nothing wasted. Nothing rushed, everything gathering itself deeper for the days to come. Release the urge to perform. Let the pulse of doing simmer out. Every system craves this return, this rerouting, this slow release of striving. With every breath, allow more space. Breathe in the scent of grass after rain, the hush inside a garden at dusk, the sacred pause before the seed cracks open under loam. Each is a mirror of what lives in you now. The old story said, "Keep working, keep proving, keep producing." Yet here, in this gently lit space, something else becomes possible. What if you grow more, become more from gentle permission? Soft trust reshapes the world more gently than all the hustle combined. The field of your soul does not deplete in the waiting, it deepens. Abundance roots itself in those who remember to rest when the mind says run. Let today's effort empty from your muscle, like water sinking back to the aquifer. Let the heart trust its own slow healing, a return not to emptiness, but wholeness. Every blessing knows how to find ground. Every desire wants to root where softness is trusted. The greatest harvests need time out of the sun, time hidden, time unmeasured. Breathe slower. Notice what stirs below the urge to please or prove. Let that urge unspool. Let duty dissolve into the darkness, gentle as dusk dissolving the field. With each letting go, receptivity widens. The soul remembers. It was never about how hard you pushed, but about how deeply you allowed. Rest is not the emptiness before provision. It is the faith by which provision is drawn near. What would change if the field inside you trusted its cycles? If you believe the universe blooms through patience, that wealth is a river underground, rising not to those who dig and dig, but to those who shape themselves into quiet vessels. Release a last breath. Let the body settle as if soft loam beneath old roots. Trust this night to teach your cells a new story. Let the field rest. Let the abundance that sleeps in darkness wake in its own divine timing. Even now, especially now, it is enough. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message arrives softly, but it might turn everything old inside out. With nothing left to prove, what if resting wasn't idleness, but trust in your own sacred timing? What if your worth didn't live at the end of a checklist, but woke up with you every morning? What if letting yourself be was the most productive thing you could ever do? This isn't a lesson or a challenge to hustle for healing. Every word here is a gentle permission slip, written for your nervous system, an invitation for your soul to stretch past all those old limits. Every sentence is here to help you uncouple what you do from who you truly are. If you grew up measuring your value in tasks and timelines, if you've ever felt that your softness disqualifies you from abundance, or that slowing down might make the world forget you, this journey is your sanctuary tonight. Stay a while. Even if the clock keeps ticking or your mind drifts in and out, let these truths move through you. All the way to the quietest part inside. You don't have to listen hard or try to remember. Just let it surround you and feel what wants to settle when the proving stops. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message rests gently in the hollow of your chest, and it might tangle softly with everything you've ever believed about enoughness. What if the silent moments between each striving were where all your true abundance grows? What if lasting change was never about grand gestures, but about letting your shoulders drop, even when no one is watching? What if you never had to rebuild your self-worth from scratch, but only needed to tune the instrument that is already humming inside? This isn't a lesson, it's a recoding. Each word designed to unfasten your grip on old patterns, while your breath slows and your deeper knowing opens quietly under the covers. If you've ever felt like you're chasing permission, hustling for rest, or measuring your value in invisible achievements, this entire episode is made for you. So stay with me now. Even if you slip into sleep, the message here is gentle enough to nestle into your dreams. You don't have to try, just let this presence hold you. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message is simple, yet it calls everything into question. What if you didn't have to hustle to be worthy? What if stillness, not striving, brings you closer to the current of true abundance? What if your value doesn't flicker with what you do, but pulses quietly beneath it all? This is not a lesson, it's a neural recoding. Each line is a gentle meeting place, dissolving old contracts of earning and rewriting the deep code of permission. Here, the busyness slows. Here, every word is designed to relax the grip, so your nervous system, tired of carrying, is finally met with safety. If you've been praised for surviving, if the world taught you that permission comes at the end of achievement, if you ever felt invisible when you rested, tonight, let these sentences soften the armor around your worth. Stay with me. Even as your thoughts start to dissolve, even as you drift, something inside will keep listening. The part of you that always knew there was more. You don't have to listen closely. Let it surround you, softly, quietly, like a memory remembered just in time. There is a quieter way, a softer asking hidden beneath every rush to earn, every tally of achievement. Most of the world measures value by motion, longing by effort, believing that to receive is to chase, to hold is to grasp tightly. Yet here, in these gentle tides of breath, something else begins to whisper. Beneath the restless surface, imagine the hush where a tide pool waits, untouched, open, neither reaching nor recoiling. The sea brings treasures into the curve of the rock without urgency, a delicate shell, a ripple of sunlight, a small silent abundance resting gently in open water. The pool does not rush to greet the ocean, nor does it try to prove it is worthy of being filled. It lets itself be met. Slow inhale, slow exhale. It is so easy to believe that only constant striving earns the rain, that only the demonstrably deserving will be watered by fortune. But what if true provision isn't drawn in by hustle, but settles softly onto the open palm that simply dares to rest? Let your fingers uncurl. Let the muscles along your forearms loosen their grip. See if, for these next few breaths, you can let your heart mimic the hollow of a cupped hand, not clenching, not straining, only allowing. Pause in this stillness. Notice how rainfall never negotiates, never demands a reason to fall. It finds every ready surface. The green of late summer grass, the old cedar, the outstretched hand pressed to glass. Even the sleeping fields accept the water with ease, never asking if they have worked enough. If you have ever felt the ache of proving, or the itch to keep moving, this is your time to step out of the storm. There's a subtle architecture to attracting abundance, one that builds not on pursuit, but on resonance. The way sound can fill an empty room without needing to be chased. the way warmth saturates your skin on a quiet morning. Now, begin to feel the gentle undercurrent where receiving is soft, where you don't need to run toward the current, but simply become more and more like the vessel that lets it flow in. There is a yielding that is more powerful than effort, a willingness to become permeable, to widen the channel between longing and letting in. Soften everything, the knot at the nape of your neck, the story that says I'm only as safe as my output. Trade tightness for trust, not as a strategy, but as a felt sense. Notice how an open palm catches what would slip through closed fingers. Think of all the times life has surprised you with plenty in the pause between plans. A sudden kindness, an unexpected check, a solution or invitation that arrives the instant you unclench your path. Receiving does not ask for permission slips or credentials from the universe. In love, as in money, as in breath, what most wants to flow to you does so not because you demand it, but because you're harmonized with its arrival. The matched hum of readiness meets opportunity like dew finds the morning leaf. The heart becomes a tide pool, the spirit a meadow bathed in sure, soft rain. Let this truth sink into the woven fabric of how you imagine wealth. Not as something doled out in exchange for perfect performance, but as an element drawn to its likeness, drawn to presence that trusts, receives, and does not rush past the blessing in order to grasp for more. Consider the way safety can enter only when the nervous system lays its armor down. Safety does not come by tightening, but by softening, not by declaring war on lack, but by surrendering into the steady pulse of sufficiency. Sometimes the richest moment is the silence after asking, before the outcome is known. Sometimes it is the pause between inhale and exhale, the place where the next abundance is already gathering. In every realm, money, love, the quiet safety of knowing you belong, the deepest provision finds the places you let be empty, the spaces you do not fill with effort or explanation. As you loosen the desire to prove your worth, room is made for something vast and unearned to enter, the graceful, rhythmic arrival of everything you require. Allow yourself to believe, just for now, that you cannot repel what is yours by resting. That every blessing wants to find you as much as you have ever wanted to receive. You are the open palm at dawn, the tide pool aglow without intention. You are the heart ready for rain that nourishes without question, the soul whose resonance is enough. Soft inhale, blanketing exhale. Let permission seep into your bones, nothing missed, nothing withheld. Abundance is a visitor who recognizes you by the ease in your welcome, not the force of your invitation. Remain here, in the gentle humility of not needing to chase everything you wish to hold. What if every act of softening became a prayer of increase? What if resting was how you give the universe room to meet you, bearing gifts, bearing answers, bearing more than effort alone could allow? Tonight, release what you were taught about chasing, become the tide pool, the open hand, the waiting earth. Stay here, becoming more receptive with each breath. Provision begins to gather at the edges, drawn closer by your resonance, by your softness, by your readiness to be truly met. There is an old memory, softer than sunlight behind your eyelids, gentle as the pause just before dawn, long before the ache of proving, before the chase of earning. Something precious was placed within you. Not a lesson, not a debt. A trust fund of soul, a quiet gold, seeded in silence before you uttered a word or won a prize, before you tried to be enough. Most of us were shown another way. We learned to sprint, to measure our right to receive by the sweat on our brow, by praise gathered like coins in a jar. Some of us became masters at pleasing, shaping ourselves as proof, each accomplishment like another brick between heart and home. If love could be lost, we had to keep winning it. If belonging was a currency, we were determined to stay solvent, one achievement ahead of shame. Breathe here, let the memory clarify. You never truly lost your inheritance. That quiet fund in the marrow of your being, the sense of eternal enoughness, untouched by mistakes, immune to applause. Soul wealth, pure, pristine, never revoked by absence or error. No wound is deep enough to forfeit what spirit promised you before you arrived. No rejection, no lost opportunity, no amount of failure can bankrupt what was gifted, quietly, irrevocably, to your heart. Most people, in longing for safety and approval, forget the birthright pressed deep into their core. They hunt for insurance in productivity, approval, partnerships, and permission. They confuse the vault for the vessel, searching outward for something that cannot be stolen, trying to reclaim worth through the hands of others, through numbers, through nods of recognition. They build elaborate security systems to protect against loss, unaware the true treasure can never be threatened. Release the need to guard what cannot be lost. Breathe a soft belly, unclench the jaw, feel into your ribs. Imagine for a moment, what if the original treasure is untouched, quietly radiating beneath all the stories? What if your belonging travels with you, woven through every cell, older than fear? It is easy to forget. To think self-faith is erased by disappointment. To believe approval must be rebuilt each morning, safety earned every night by mounting evidence. One more late hour, one more yes, one more self-betrayal, just to stay close to the vault. Yet nothing essential can be taken from you. Not the truth of being wanted. Not the primal deserving you breathed with first inhale. Not the spiritual endowment that carries your worth undiminished through every cycle of approval or lack. Let your breath slow, let your mind drift. Feel the original gift, neither jewel nor coin, but a sense, an atmosphere, a knowing more constant than any story. It does not abandon you when love pauses or money runs thin. It is with you in the stillness, the waiting, the soft refusal to keep striving for what is immovable. Stack the metaphors. You are the heir with a limitless trust always available in the background, the child whose name is inscribed on bonds of love that never expire, the traveler carrying home within, even when the world forgets to say welcome. Each role is woven through you, gentle reminder, silent companion, healing every memory of absence. You do not have to keep knocking on doors that refuse to open, nor must you fund your life from borrowed self-worth. Breathe in, receive the quiet sense of being already chosen, already cherished, already claimed by something unending and benign. If you falter, your inheritance waits patiently, unspent. If you stray, nothing is deducted. If you pause, the value grows richer in the silence. There is no interest charged, no penalty for rest, no tax on the softening of your guard. Notice how relief shimmers at the edge of recognition, how safety comes not from holding on, but from laying down what was never at risk. And try on this truth: anything real in spirit is always reclaimable. Worth persists, immune to the tides of approval or rejection. Even when the world tells you something was lost, there is more, deep beneath the noise, untouched and fully yours. Imagine now a vault filled not with savings, but with warmth. A treasury of belonging, undiminished by any misstep, prepared before you ever chose a single action. Every time you remember, the vault grows vaster. Every moment you trust, unearned blessing pours like sunrise through your chest. Let your body release striving. Soften your grip on the stories that told you proof was needed. Tonight, nothing is required. You cannot forfeit what cannot be given away. Trust that what was gifted before words can be called back by silence. Your inheritance is not a myth, but a muscle, a living current, ready to rise and refill you whenever you exhale the lie of scarcity. All you are, all you need, all that will ever truly belong to you can never be taken. Rest here. Let this be a remembering, not a lesson. Let safety arrive, not as reward for effort, but as birthright revealed in rest. Somewhere in the hush just before sleep, a quiet echo lingers beneath your breath. It's the voice that kept pace with every effort, every checklist, every little victory that somehow never quite landed in the heart. Maybe you first heard it as a child, earnest and bright-eyed, the suggestion that more was always possible if only you tried harder. If only you stood a little taller, spoke a little sweeter, produced a little more. The voice could sound like a parent, a teacher, a boss, yet it was always your own heartbeat eventually that started pounding to its rhythm. Some people think the only way forward is to shout above this voice, to argue, to demand it quiets down. But there's another way, a way that doesn't resist, but instead smiles in recognition. A way that sees the old mechanism for what it was, an attempt at keeping you safe from the fear of not enoughness. The old voice whispered things it believed were helpful. Let's not rest just yet, someone out there is working harder. Let's not feel pride, there's always more to fix. Let's not linger in softness, the world rewards the ones who carry the most. These statements were never the truth. They were echoes learned from others, borrowed beliefs, once heavy as armor, now recognizably threadbare. Yet this voice didn't grow cruel out of malice. It grew strong because it thought, perhaps, this was the way to keep love within reach, to secure safety, to make joy permissible. Now take a slow breath and imagine if that voice, so insistent, so weary, could be seen not as the enemy, but as an old protector. What if, instead of resisting it, the invitation tonight was to gently name it, to say, I see you. I know you only meant to help. There's a tender kind of bravery in not banishing the critic, but letting it lay its head down too. Letting it grow softer, as you remember the greater truth stirring underneath. You did not need to earn permission to rest. Love isn't a prize reserved for the ones who run the farthest or give the most away. Breathe again. If the voice was a companion, shadowing each accomplishment with a quiet plea for more, what would it feel like to walk beside it without letting it lead? For a moment, see it as a child, overzealous, maybe even anxious, but never truly mean. It asked for more output, more proving, not out of malice, but out of fear that life might not give unless you kept showing up, louder, stronger, better. But in this gentle darkness, it's safe to untangle the voice from the truth of who you are. There is no cosmic scoreboard keeping tally. There is no finish line that will certify your worth forever. Each breath is enough. Each heartbeat a quiet celebration. Let the old patterns come up. Maybe they show up as the impulse to check one more thing, settle one last account before you can fully relax. The nervous system has been trained over long seasons to associate relaxation with risk. It's okay. That habit can soften right here, without force. Imagine a riverbank where the current of striving finally slows. You witness the sediment of old should sinking gently to the bottom. Over and over, throughout your life, achievement was dangled as a gatekeeper. Money, too, may have been tangled in these stories, the inner critic saying, not smart enough yet, not creative enough yet, not enough to be trusted with more. Release that grip just for this hour. Let the idea of abundance feel as simple as being allowed to exhale. There is no scarcity of compassion for the one who learned to hustle. There is no shame in having once believed effort was currency, was permission, was identity. If time is a garden, there's room now to let the overgrown branches of judgment recline. Nothing is being cut away, simply witnessed, blessed, and laid down. Another soft breath, deeper this time, dissolving any tightness that surfaces around the heart, or in the gut, or behind the eyes. Safety was never housed in the fortress of achievement. It waits patiently in the quiet honesty of being. With every breath, recall a memory where pleasure was spontaneous, where being yourself drew kindness, and nothing bad happened. Repeat inwardly, safety is allowed to arrive now. Wealth is welcomed, not earned in exhaustion. Permission is granted, here now in this sleepy moment. Let that truth swirl gently through your thoughts, like warm wind through curtains. Where the critic once tried to protect, now let the wisdom of true enoughness carry you. What if the origin of all wealth, not just in money or praise, but in love and peace and soft delight, was your very existence? You are already funded, already favored, already chosen by the mystery that breathes you. Just drift here, no correcting, no proving needed tonight. The critic is not banished, it's simply held, offered a place to finally rest. Watch as its edges dissolve beneath the soft light of recognition. This is the slow undoing, a gentle unwinding of all the old contracts you signed in urgency and fear. Every breath, a new agreement. My value is intact, my presence is welcomed, my being is abundant without evidence or effort. Stay with this feeling, let it linger. Even as another wave of thoughts arrives, what is left to do? What am I missing? Just breathe back. Just return, you are safe in enoughness. There is nowhere left to climb, nothing left to earn. Just the quiet assurance that abundance in all forms is allowed to find you as you are. And as you drift, what once was the voice of pressure becomes now the lull of belonging. What if wealth was first woven where love passes through? What if the real treasury is measured not in numbers, but in every silent moment the heart says yes? There's a precious kind of worth that's untouched by striving, a quiet currency, older than transaction, invisible to counting, and yet everything we touch from love multiplies behind the scenes. Most of us were taught to earn approval, to earn safety, to earn permission to want. Productivity became a passcode, achievement became armor. We built empires on the tension of proving, pleasing, striving. Always on, never enough, measuring gold by exhaustion, mistaking pace for prophecy in that world. Abundance is a finish line, always out of reach. One more task, one more hurdle, one more tomorrow. Rest is rationed. A desire is filtered. Worth feels conditional, fragile, lodged in outer recognition. Most nights, success hovers at arm's length, a ghost in the margins, demanding evidence, withholding grace. But what if the blueprint is softer? What if underneath the scaffolding there lives a different architecture? What if love is the only real collateral with the power to fund your life? Here, love becomes the ledger. Here, the heart decides the limits. Willingness, not worry, invites the next provision, the next dream, the next wave of enough. Joy underwrites the contract. Intention seeds the soil. What comes from love returns with favor. What comes from love returns in grace. Love is the signature that transforms wishes into trust, turns the invisible into inheritance. Notice how your chest softens when you remember something you crafted purely for joy. Was it a letter never sent, a melody in the dark, a moment of laughter shared with no audience? These, too, are treasures. They funded you quietly in ways banks never could. Slow the breath. Let each inhale carry this truth. When soul meets longing with love, not with performance or panic, wealth begins its gentle return. The river bends, unexpected bridges appear. Ease follows presence. Tonight, let the nervous system rest from calculations. Release the equation that says you must trade effort for acceptance. What comes from love returns with favor. Imagine exhaling every old contract of deprivation, competition, and pressure. The spirit craves a richer math. What is lovingly sent, lovingly circles back. Think of old paradigms as stacked coins, clinking with rules. Now see them melting, dissolving in warm light. All that endures was anchored in care. All that remains was chosen from the heart. Nothing forced, nothing rushed for a moment. Recall time's abundance found you by surprise. A friend's generosity, an idea that brought effortless solutions, an answer to an unspoken prayer. These moments weren't purchased. They bloomed on the vine of true value. They answered the love you let flow. Pause again. What comes from love returns with favor, sometimes softly, sometimes in waves, but always in right season. If the mind drifts, let it. There's nothing to track, no goals to hold. Breathe into the quiet account opening inside the body. Each heartbeat is a silent receipt, each sigh a signature, each tear a deposit in the currency of being. Rest in this. The universe keeps perfect accounts where love is concerned. Not one moment poured from the soul is wasted. Even the gentlest wish builds interest for the future. Investments made from love gather compound blessings long after the ego steps aside. Notice the difference. Creations forced from fear or scarcity take so much more energy. They ask payment before they give pleasure. Yet what arises from pure affection, purpose, or wonder funds the creator twice, first in the making, then in unexpected returns. To soften further, let go of waiting for permission to receive. What if being loved and loving is enough to fund every need, every adventure, every rest? The spiritual truth is this. Your value cannot be subtracted. Your inheritance cannot expire. Your joy cannot run dry. The only reserves that truly grow are those drawn from what the heart has blessed. Let this room become a treasury, filled with all the non-material riches you've stored. The laughter that rewrote your days. The forgiveness that filled the air with new possibility. The dreams you dared while everyone slept. Love in its endless denominations, waiting patiently for you to remember its purchasing power. What comes from love returns with favor. Again and again, like breath, like tide. It circles, nourishes, echoes. You are more solvent than you think. You are creditworthy in the only ways that count. Tonight, let love be your portfolio. Let feeling be your funding. Trust that what is seeded with care grows well, returns in season, never truly lost. Breathe deeper, feel the solvency in your marrow. Let gratitude collect interest across lifetimes. The soul knows where to invest. Release your grip on hustling. Loving was always the safer bet. Every time you wondered if you gave too freely, remember, what comes from love returns with favor. Allow this knowing to settle in every cell as you drift, fully funded and forever backed by heart. It's a quiet thing, this remembering. Some part of you has always known. You are not a conveyor belt, churning out worth. You are not a sum of tally marks, production counts, quotas logged in midnight light. Beneath the noise, there was always the field. Most of us grew up inside the whirring, measured by miles walked, tasks crushed, accolades stacked high against the backdrop of fatigue. the world spins loud, reciting the old vision. Hustle now, prove later, rest only when you've produced enough. The industrial song is catchy, isn't it? It seeps into your earliest ideas about good and gold. Be efficient, stay useful. Master the clock, master your fate. Don't stop, don't slow, don't soften, but fields do not rush, do they? Fields spread open, made generous by patience and sun. There is nothing urgent in the way the grass rises, nothing anxious in the idle sway of wildflowers, or the curve of a river winding through unmapped time. Let your breath slow just for now. Before you were measured, you were allowed to grow without reason. Can you remember that freedom? Not every leaf on the tree blooms to schedule. Not every patch of earth bears fruit year-round. What if your value was more like the open plain, absorbing the day's gold, the night's cool hush, the seasons of doing and becoming and being? Factories are bright and brash, full of gears grinding, deadlines crashing, lights that never dim. The mind can learn to mimic this, can't it? So many are taught to bind their worth to what gets done, to answer emails before sunrise, to work weekends, to be the last light burning in the building. But even seeds don't answer the sun every morning. Some hide, some wait, some rest in the dark until the soil is ready to say, now. Notice if your chest softens when you hear this. There is a magic in slow growth. Stretch this idea softly between your ribs. Fields flourish not just by what they produce, but by all the unseen, the way the earth heals itself underground, weaving roots in secret. The way rain soaks quietly, transforming everything below. The silent conversations of wind, earth, sun, the gentle trade of warmth for rest, industrial metaphors tell you to be ready always, to prime yourself for harvest every hour. But what if your abundance was allowed to ripen in cycles? What if the richest yields come on their own time, lush and unforced? Breathe in and release the impulse to track your progress tonight. Picture a field at dusk. Not bustling, not anxious, not worried about its worth as night falls. It simply is, held by sky, by memory, by things unseen and untellable. Let that vision settle into your belly, into your back, wherever you hold tight to needing to earn rest. There is no superior meadow, no best grass, no award for the first leaf that rises. Everything is welcomed. Each pace of unfolding has its own sacred logic. Factories admire uniformity. Fields make space for every wild variation. Some years heavy with sunflowers, others ablaze with clover and moss. Let yourself reflect. Have you been chasing sameness, perfection, deadlines forged under artificial light? Another breath. Feel the season move through you. When identity is tangled with output, exhaustion is inevitable. But when you remember you are a field, not a factory, restoration becomes as natural as inhaling. You cannot force a rose open in the dark. You cannot crank out worth from the soul like widgets from a line. The field is cherished for its beingness, not its busyness. And yet abundance emerges anyway. Petals drift open. A fruit appears not because it is scheduled, but because the web of sun and water and pause allows it. Tonight, let yourself be rewilded. Unhook from the machinery of self-pushing, and imagine your inner landscape softening at the edges, the fence lines bending, boundaries dissolving into sky. Your nervous system is safe to slow here. With every slow inhale, let the gears still. Let the need to tally, to rush, to validate through action, dissolve like morning mist over warm grass. You never needed to prove yourself to be provided for. The field is enough, even before the harvest. If you listen softly, you may sense where your beingness quietly exceeds your doing. Wealth, for you, is not a prize at the end of effort. It is an inheritance, winding through every fiber of your being, revealed more with each unhurried breath. Remember, sun, silence, and time are the engines that make life flourish. Rest into this natural truth. You are a field, not a factory. Tonight, you are set free to grow without urgency, without explanation. Let the roots deepen. Let the wildflowers stretch. Let all that is you rise quietly into a new season of receiving, and as you settle, let silence swirl gently around your thoughts, making fertile ground for every dream still waiting to bloom. Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight's message is simple, but it might change everything you believe about deserving more. What if resting wasn't laziness, but ancient wisdom longing to return? What if the gentlest path inward unlocked more than 1,000 days of striving? What if the wealth you seek has always been as close as your next breath? This isn't a lesson. There's no step-by-step here, no fixing, no proving, no test or final to earn your place. Every sentence tonight is laced with the gentlest intention to create safety in your nervous system, so your soul can loosen its grip on the old belief that only effort creates value. Here you aren't being persuaded, you are being quietly remembered. This is a recoding, a new sensation that you can allow in abundance, without auditioning for it, without performance, without guard. If you've ever felt driven to the edge of exhaustion just to be seen, if you've ever counted your worth in check marks, deadlines, gold stars, if you've wondered why peace feels just out of reach, or why rest feels risky, if you hunger for provision but tense at the thought of stopping, this entire episode is crafted for you, so stay here with me, even if you drift, even if your mind wanders. The truths here aren't taught, they're caught. Even in sleep, your spirit listens. You don't have to focus. You don't have to try. Just let these words float around you like air, like night, like the softest invitation home. Let the air soften around you, melting the last defiant edges, familiar as dusk after a long golden day. For so long, effort was the evidence, proof you deserved a space to rest, a chair pulled out by gentle hands, an unhurried meal. For so long, sleep itself was a currency, traded only when you had earned it by emptying yourself for others. But the old bargain, the one that tied your identity to endless doing, it unknots now, strand by strand, in this gentle night. Notice how the weight drifts from your muscles. Each exhale a quiet invitation to release what was never truly yours to carry. Recall the ways you counted hours, the ledger of your labor, the calculations of your care. You learned, like so many soulful beings, that being needed was the surest path to being loved. Achievement built your nest, and overachievement lined it, feather by restless feather. But still, the deepest softness waited outside that nest, patient as dawn. So let the old urgency slow. Let it unravel and fade, not all at once, but like rain moving over a thirsty field, first soaking the surface, then sinking into deeper soil. With every breath, notice the difference between pushing and receiving, between striving for approval and simply belonging. Feel how one is clenched, oxygen short, heart pacing. Feel the other, open, endless, unpressured, almost sweet. When you remember peace as your inheritance, not as a tea you sip on rare holidays, not as a luxury withheld for the worthy, but as your native atmosphere, something changes. The nervous system, alert for decades, begins to trust again. The body's locked doors click open, windows lift for soft breezes. The mind loosens its grip on the endless scroll of what's next, and lets tonight be enough, just as it is. Others might say, rest is for the weak or the finished. Here you remember, rest is for the wise, the beloved, the ones who recall that abundance grows best where roots are undisturbed, where the soil is quiet, where nothing hurries the blossoms to appear. Money, too, gathers at the feet of peace, not the kind demanded or chased, but the kind you let move through you like dusk, like water, like the holy hush right before you sleep. As you drift towards this hush, notice how your body surrenders to being held by the bed, not unlike being cradled by destiny itself. What if every cell in you was already permitted to pause? What if prosperity hunted the gently resting heart, tiptoeing past the shutters to leave gold at your feet? What if you could, just for these moments, untether every proof and fall asleep as one who has already arrived? Understand, provision is not earned by exhaustion. It is welcomed by allowing, by a holy exhale that signals, I am safe to receive. The universe brings fullness not to those who grip hardest, but to those brave enough to open, to soften, to stay present with their own enoughness. With each breath, your system remembers this. With each breath, enoughness multiplies, quietly, secretly, abundantly. Somewhere in your memory, maybe even your bones, the story of meritocracy still turns, the tale that says only the productive prosper, only givers deserve grace. But what if lineage itself could be rewritten tonight? What if the deepest ancestors, the great souls who kept faith alive during famine and feast, are whispering to you now, you are already worthy, child. Wealth doesn't come to the hurried. It comes to the rested. It comes to those who trust their own belonging. Breathe in, breathe out. Let safety settle into your spine. Notice how time, too, seems to melt in this twilight. Deadlines lose their sharpness, calendars blur at the edges. There are no clocks in dreams. There are no quotas for the beloved. There is only the steady, spacious pulse of being provided for because you exist, not because you performed. Feel how this offering changes everything. Where once the mind raced over budgets, future fears, unticked boxes, now it traces the soft curve of presence, the open palm of here, now this. The heart's tempo slows, matching something older than clocks, the original rhythm of being cherished by life itself. What if you never had to hustle for worth again? What if abundance liked you best when you were half asleep? Let your breath slow, dragged down like moonlight over sleeping fields. Let all the striving in your chest cross over into calm. No need to tally, to rehearse, to plan. You are here, sinking sweetly into the gravity of provision. Safety is a blanket, thick and lasting. Worth is a fragrance the soul never loses. Rest welcomes everything you once chased. Notice again the soft turn between trying and trusting. How your very cells quiet, rearrange, remember. How the dream of more enters through the unlocked doors of your resting self, not the barricades of your efforting self. Each inhale writes a new contract. Abundance may come gently. Wealth will not punish. Provision prefers peace. Allow your system to spiral deeper, carried not by willpower but by welcome. Let silence cradle you between each word. Let the sanctuary of rest be holy and final, not a pit stop but a destination known in your bones. Nothing follows but peace now, nothing echoes but grace. You are free to sleep, free to be filled, free to wake when you are ready, already rich, already remembered. Let this be enough, let yourself surrender all the way. Let everything you've sought find you here, where worth is inherited, and abundance settles wherever peace is planted. Drift, drift, deeper into remembrance.